All right, welcome back. This is Realize the Self, and I am Mark, your host. And in today's episode, we're going to go over something I'm not super familiar with, but I found it very interesting when I started reading it, and it's very helpful. Another tool for self realization. This comes from Carlos Castaneda's concept of not doing. And this comes from the Toltec lineage he presents. The idea is subtle, transformative, and very different from ordinary meditation or passive inactivity. So let's go over this. The context of Castaneda's work is not doing. It comes from Castaneda's writings on Toltec shamanism, particularly the teachings he attributes to Don Juan. Don Juan presents it as a part of a broader system of knowledge intended to liberate the individual from ordinary perception and align consciousness with the world in an ordinary way. Not in a non-ordinary way. In the Toltec system, humans live in a habitual reality heavily filtered by learned patterns of perception, social conditioning, and personal narratives. These patterns are what Don Juan calls the predictable world, the world where life is reactive, automatic, and limited. Not doing is a practice designed to interrupt these automatic patterns, thereby opening the practitioner to more fluid, non-ordinary perception of reality. And that's one of the main parts of self-realization is this non-doing, is to wake up from this mechanicalization Gurdjieff talks about, this automated way of living that we do every day, from thinking to doing to these beliefs, and everything is just automated. Like I talk about, 60,000, the average person thinks 60,000 words per day, and most of those are the same thoughts as the day before. So we're living in automated thought loops, and this creates the same thinking, the same emotions, the same beliefs, the same life, really. And most of those thoughts are negative. So most people are living in negative thought loops, creating a negative reality for themselves. And so we want to break out of this automation and become more aware. This is the key, to become more aware. Once you can become more aware, then you can disidentify with the thoughts, emotions, body, and you identify with the observer, the witness within, the true self. And then as we go on with Carlos Castaneda, he talks about the mechanics of not doing. At first glance, it may seem like simply doing nothing, but it's not. It is more nuanced than that. So one of the mechanics is abandoning habitual behavior. Not doing involves refusing to engage in the automatic routines of life, physical, emotional, and mental. For example, if you scratch your nose, fidget, check your phone, or react emotionally to a situation, not doing asks you to notice these patterns and intentionally interrupt them. The goal is to create gaps in the habitual flow of energy and attention. Another part of this, number 2, is shifting perception. The Toltec view holds that reality is a field of energy, and our perception is like a lens that colors this energy with patterns. Not doing is a way of letting go of this lens, allowing your awareness to operate outside the habitual interpretive patterns. Letting go, key phrase there. You may notice your environment or sensations in ways you've never did before. For example, colors, textures, and sounds can become unusually vivid or meaningful. And the third part of that concept is energy conservation and redirection. Every habitual action consumes energy in predictable ways. By interrupting routines, energy is freed up for other non-habitual ways of acting or perceiving. This is related to Castaneda's larger theme of stopping the world, which is a precursor to gaining mastery over one's own awareness. Another concept he goes into is practical examples of not doing. So Don Juan gives specific exercises in his books, or in the books. Walking in an unusual way, so you could change your gait, deliberately moving differently than usual, or taking unexpected paths. Breaking conversational habits, saying the opposite of what you would normally say, or staying silent in moments where you would normally react. breaking out of that pattern. And then, for example, how are you doing? Everyone says good, fine, good, fine. You could just break that up and say something completely different. Interrupting rituals. If you have a habitual morning routine, do it backwards or skip steps in unusual ways. Non-use of familiar objects, using objects in ways that defy their habitual purpose, like wearing shoes on the wrong feet. The aim isn't random chaos. It's forcing your mind to encounter the world without the usual filters. And then he goes into the philosophical. Then we could go into the philosophical metaphysical significance. Not doing has several layers of meaning in the Toltec perspective. Number one is freedom from the self-image. Castaneda emphasizes that humans are trapped by their personal narrative and the roles they play in society. Not doing interrupts the reinforcement of the self-image, creating space for new possibilities of being. Number two, confronting the unknown. When habitual patterns are disrupted, the mind experiences uncertainty. Toltec see this as vital for spiritual growth because only in the unknown can perception expand beyond the ordinary. That's a fascinating concept. And number three, alignment with intent. In Castaneda, intent, in his work, Castaneda, intent is the force that shapes reality. Not doing is a way of allowing intent to operate rather than being trapped in predictable patterns of thought and behavior. Number four, preparation for more advanced practices. Not doing is considered foundational before attempting higher Toltec practices like stalking or dreaming, where consciousness actively engages with energy outside ordinary reality. Another concept we go into, some of the concepts or common misconceptions. It's not laziness. So not doing is not laziness. It's not being idle or avoiding responsibility. It's deliberate, conscious, and often uncomfortable. It's not escapism. It doesn't mean ignoring life's challenges. It's about changing your mode of engagement with life. It's not mystical fantasy. While the results can feel mystical, the practice is grounded in intention, awareness, and discipline. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Discipline is actually vital too. Integration, the effects of non-doing are cumulative. It makes one less reactive and more flexible. Expands perception to see the world without habitual filters. Opens a practitioner to spontaneity, creativity, and energy flow. In essence, it's like pausing the automatic pilot of your consciousness and letting a deeper, less constrained awareness emerge. And, it helps create awareness. And so here's a little step-by-step practical guide if you want to practice this. So the phase one, the first part would be awareness of habitual patterns. So the goal is to notice the automatic patterns that dominate your body, mind, and reactions. So you could do a daily exercise. So you could observe observation of repetition. You could pick one daily activity like brushing your teeth, walking, checking your phone. Observe each movement slowly and deliberately, noticing every detail you usually ignore. The second part of that would be to interrupt the pattern. While doing that activity, slightly alter it. For example, brushing teeth with the opposite hand, taking a different route to work, change the order of tasks. The purpose is to break the predictability of your habitual flow. Number three, silent awareness. For a couple minutes, sit quietly and observe your thoughts without reacting. If your mind jumps to routine worries, gently return to awareness of the body or breath. This phase is not about judging the habit, but noticing it and starting to create gaps in it. And this is super important for self-realization, to become aware and notice the gaps, to create gaps in it, which is self-realization gaps, and to know that you're the awareness, not the thoughts, not the habitual patterns, not the programs, not the beliefs. The phase two, if you want to take this further, you could even go into controlled not doing. The goal is to begin deliberately interrupting patterns to experience energy differently. So there are daily exercises you can do, a few minutes each day, whatever you feel like, such as small acts of not doing it. Choose 2 to 3 habitual actions and perform them differently or not at all. For example, instead of answering emails immediately, pause and wait 5 to 10 minutes. Another example, walk into a room and don't speak when you normally would, or speak when you normally wouldn't. Another part of that would be to deliberate body unfamiliarity. Move your body in ways you normally wouldn't. Walk backwards, walk sideways, in a safe space, sit in an unusual posture. The goal is to make the body less predictable to yourself. You could dance in a weird, unusual, funky different type of way that you normally wouldn't. And another part of that, the third one would be observation of reactions. Notice how your mind and others react to your not doing. Pay attention to resistance, tension, or curiosity. These are signs you're stepping out of habitual perception. You're learning to interrupt the flow of automatic energy, freeing it for new possibilities. And then we go into the more advanced, the phase 3, extended not doing. The goal here would be to experience non-ordinary perception and greater freedom from self-imposed limitations. Some daily exercises you could do if you'd like. Extended activity interruptions. Choose one complex habit, such as a conversation, a commute, or daily routine. Alter it completely or pause it. For example, take an entirely different route home. Stay silent for an entire conversation and only observe. Hopefully you're not with a group of people and you're just like the silent person who's kind of like the oddball out. But even if you are, who cares? You could do it as an experimentation and have fun with it. Another thing you can do is energetic awareness practice. Focus on your internal energy flow rather than external tasks. Pay attention to how your body and mind react to novel movements or silence. Number 3, dreaming and visualization. This is optional, but it's kind of cool. Before sleep, visualize your habitual routines being interrupted. Imagine yourself acting freely beyond normal patterns. This primes your subconscious to continue not doing even while asleep. At this stage, not doing is less about specific actions, more about being open, unpredictable, and aware. And the thing is with self-realization is you're not in a habitual response anymore. You're free in every moment. It's completely new. There's no more programs. There's no more identification with the mind, the body, or emotions. And you're free to, you live in the moment. So there's only the now. There's no future. There's no past. And so there's no more habitual response. And you just, there's a term for it where you act completely. You may act crazy to some people. You may laugh spontaneously. You may just do something that they're not used to because their mind is full of programs. So, for example, if you normally eat something or would say something and you don't, that might, like, people might, be like, well, what's wrong with you? Or why are you acting so different? Because they still have that program and that idea of who you are. So there's a lot going on there, and it's actually fun to do and interesting to observe this to the effects on other people. The guiding principles throughout all phases: intentionality matters. Not doing is deliberate, not random or lazy. Start small. Manageable acts are more effective than dramatic gestures. Observe, don't judge. Resistance or discomfort is normal. It indicates you're challenging habitual patterns. Consistency over intensity. Daily short practices are better than sporadic long ones. Energy conservation. Freed energy from not doing can be redirected toward creativity, focus, or perception expansion. And so that's it. It helps develop mindfulness, helps develop awareness, helps develop the self. And there's your really interesting and pretty good non-doing practice if you get a chance to do it. And thank you for being here. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you on the next one.